She held my hand while planning our wedding and said, "I love you, but if we have kids, I'd prefer they have my ex's genes. He's just more attractive." I said, "Sounds logical." Then I canceled everything while she slept. She had no idea what was coming. My name is Daniel Hayes, and I work the night shift as a security coordinator at Mercy Regional Hospital. 10 at night until 6 in the morning, 4 nights a week. It's the kind of job that teaches you patience. Watching monitors, checking credentials, managing the quiet emergencies that happen when the rest of the world sleeps. You learn to observe without reacting, to process information before responding, to stay calm when everything around you is chaos. I should have applied those skills to my personal life. Claire and I had been together for 3 years, engaged for 8 months. We met at a hospital fundraiser where she was coordinating the event for Westbrook Country Club. I was there representing the security team, standing in the corner in an uncomfortable suit, watching her work the room like she'd been born to it. She was magnetic, laughing with donors, solving problems before they became crises, making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. When she turned that attention on me, I didn't stand a chance. She said I was different from the men she usually dated. Stable, reliable, someone who would actually be there when life got hard. She said she was tired of excitement and wanted something real. For 2.5 years, I believed her. The wedding planning had consumed the last 3 months of our lives. Venues, caterers, photographers, florists, an endless parade of decisions that seemed to multiply every time we crossed one off the list. Claire approached it like a military campaign, with spreadsheets and timelines and color-coded folders. I approached it like a man who wanted to marry the woman he loved and didn't particularly care whether the napkins matched the centerpieces. That Saturday evening, we were at my townhouse with brochures spread across the dining room table, guest lists, seating charts, menu options. Claire was animated, flipping through photos on her tablet, showing me pictures of dresses she was considering for her final fitting the next day. I was exhausted from a rough week of overnight shifts, but I was happy, genuinely happy. We were building something real, making plans for a future that included kids and a house and the kind of life my parents had modeled for my brother Marcus and me. Then she said it, not during a fight, not after drinking too much, not in anger or frustration or any of the contexts where people say things they don't mean. She said it while scrolling through fabric samples, her voice casual, almost distracted. "I love you, but if we have kids, I'd prefer they have my ex's genes. He's just more attractive." The words hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. I waited for her to laugh, to correct herself, to show any sign that she understood what she'd just said. Instead, she kept scrolling, then looked up at me with a small smile. "I know that sounds weird, but I'm just being honest. Ryan had really good bone structure, you know? Great eyes, athletic build. It's just genetics. It doesn't mean anything about how I feel about you." I stared at her. She tilted her head, her expression shifting from casual to slightly concerned. "What? I'm not saying I don't love you. I'm saying that objectively, if we're talking about what our kids would look like, his genes would probably photograph better. It's practical, not personal." Practical, not personal. She was discussing the hypothetical appearance of our future children while wishing someone else was their father, and she thought this was a reasonable observation to share during wedding planning. "Daniel, you're being really quiet. Are you upset?" I should have responded with anger. I should have demanded to know what kind of person says something like that to their fiancé. I should have asked her if she'd been thinking about Ryan's genes the entire time she'd been planning our wedding. Instead, I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not rage. That would come later. Something more final. The click of a door closing in my mind. "Sounds logical," I said. My voice was calm. Flat. Claire smiled, relieved, and went back to her fabric samples. "I knew you'd understand. That's what I love about you. You're so reasonable. Ryan would have flipped out if I'd said something like that to him." Of course he would have, because even a man she considered more attractive would recognize that his fiancée wishing their children had someone else's genes was a relationship-ending statement. But not reasonable Daniel, not stable, reliable, backup option Daniel. We finished the planning session. Claire talked about seating arrangements and first dance songs while I nodded in the right places and said the expected things. She kissed me goodnight and went to bed, exhausted from the effort of organizing our future. I stayed downstairs. At 11:30, when I was certain she was asleep, I opened my laptop and began the systematic destruction of everything we'd built. The venue was first. Cancellation form, filled out with clinical precision. We'd lose the deposit, but that was a small price for what I was buying. Freedom from a woman who saw me as a backup plan she could decorate while dreaming of someone better. The photographer was next, then the caterer, then the florist. Each cancellation felt like cutting a rope that had been slowly strangling me without my awareness. At 1 a.m, I drafted an email to our guest list, brief, dignified, and devastating. We regret to inform you that the wedding of Daniel Hayes and Claire Ashworth has been postponed indefinitely. We appreciate your understanding during this difficult time. I scheduled it to send at 9 the next morning, when Claire would be at her final dress fitting. The last task was the hardest. Claire had slowly migrated belongings to my townhouse over the past year. Clothes, toiletries, books, the small artifacts of a life intertwining with mine. I packed them methodically into boxes, each item a small archaeological discovery of the relationship I'd thought we were building. Her favorite coffee mug, the throw pillows she'd insisted my couch needed, the framed photo of us from a trip to the coast. I didn't pack them with anger. I packed them with the careful attention of someone closing a chapter. This wasn't punishment. This was self-preservation. By 4 a.m, everything was done. The wedding was dismantled. The evidence of her presence was boxed. The future she'd assumed would happen no matter how she treated me was gone. I sat in the dark living room, listening to her breathe upstairs, and felt nothing but clarity. Sunday morning came bright and harsh. I pretended to sleep while Claire got ready for her fitting, listening to her excitement through the bedroom door. She kissed my forehead before she left, called me her sleepy fiancée, and told me she'd text pictures of the final dress adjustments. I waited until her car was out of the driveway. Then I got up, showered, dressed, and made coffee. My phone was silent. The emails hadn't gone out yet. At 9:15, my phone started buzzing. Texts from friends asking what was going on. A call from my mother that I let go to voicemail. Confused messages from vendors who'd received cancellation confirmations. And then, at 10:45, Claire called. I let it ring twice before answering. "Daniel, what's happening?" Her voice was high, confused, not yet panicked. "The venue isn't answering my calls. Mom said she got a weird email about the wedding being postponed. And the bridal shop said something about a cancellation notice." "Nothing's happening, Claire." "But the email, my mom's asking questions. I don't understand." "You told me the truth last night. I listened." A pause. I could hear the gears turning, the memory surfacing. The thing about Ryan. Daniel, that was nothing. I was just being honest. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything. You're overreacting. This is crazy. You can't cancel our entire wedding because of one comment. I didn't cancel it because of the comment. I canceled it because of what the comment revealed. I kept my voice calm, even. You told me you'd prefer our children have another man's genes because he's more attractive. That's not honesty, Claire. That's confession. Confession of what? I love you. I'm marrying you. You were settling for me. You said it yourself. I'm reasonable, stable, reliable. All the words people use when they mean not what I really wanted, but good enough. That's not... Her voice cracked. "Daniel, please, we can talk about this. I was tired. I wasn't thinking straight. I didn't mean... You meant every word. You just didn't expect me to hear them." Silence on the line. I could hear other voices in the background, the bridal shop staff, probably wondering why their customer was having a breakdown in the fitting room. "What do you want me to do?" she finally asked. "I'll do anything. Counseling, whatever you need. Just don't throw away 3 years because I said something stupid." "It wasn't stupid, Claire. It was the most honest thing you've ever said to me." "Daniel, go have beautiful kids with someone else." I hung up. The phone immediately started ringing again. I silenced it. Texts poured in, from Claire, from her mother Eleanor, from mutual friends who'd received the postponement email and wanted to know what was happening. I ignored them all. At noon, I called my brother Marcus. He answered on the second ring. "What the hell is going on? Claire's mom called my mom, who called me. She says you canceled the wedding?" "I did." "Why?" I told him. All of it. The comment, the casual delivery, the implications. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. "Daniel, I need to tell you something. I wasn't sure before, and I didn't want to cause problems if I was wrong. But last week, when I was coming off a late shift, I saw Claire's car at Pinnacle Fitness, the fancy one on Oak Street." "So? She works out sometimes." "It was 2 a.m, Daniel. Your shift. And there was a guy with her in the parking lot. She kissed him before getting in her car." The cold clarity I'd felt the night before turned to ice. "What did he look like?" "Tall, athletic, dark hair." Marcus paused. "I ran into a buddy who works there later. Said the guy's name is Ryan. He's a personal trainer." "Ryan." "Great bone structure. Great eyes. Athletic build. The man Claire wished was fathering her children was already sleeping with her while I worked the night shift. I'd canceled the wedding because she saw me as a backup option. Now I understood. I wasn't just a backup. I was a cover story. The next 48 hours were a masterclass in selective silence. Claire called 23 times on Sunday. I answered none of them. She left voicemails that progressed through the 5 stages of grief in fast forward: confusion, anger, bargaining, despair, and finally, a cold determination that I recognized as her event coordinator voice. The last message said she was giving me space, but expected we'd discuss this like adults, when I was ready to be reasonable. Reasonable, there was that word again. I spent Sunday afternoon doing something I should have done months ago, paying attention. Claire's Instagram was a carefully curated gallery of our relationship, but I'd never looked closely at the backgrounds, the tags, the patterns. Now I did. Pinnacle Fitness appeared in her stories more often than I'd realized, always during my shifts, always with the same hashtags about self-care and me time. In one photo from 3 weeks ago, a mirror reflection showed someone standing just outside the frame, a masculine silhouette that meant nothing until you knew what to look for. I screenshot everything: timestamps, locations, the digital breadcrumbs of a parallel life I'd been too trusting to notice. Monday morning, I went through the doorbell camera footage. My townhouse had a Ring camera installed on the front porch, something I'd bought after a package theft 2 years ago. The footage was stored in the cloud, organized by date, easily searchable. I'd never had a reason to review it systematically before. Now I had several reasons. I started with the past month, cross-referencing the dates with my shift schedule. The pattern emerged almost immediately. Day 8. An unfamiliar BMW pulled into my driveway at 11:47 p.m. I was at work. Day 15, same BMW. 12:03 a.m., day 22, same BMW. 11:52 p.m. This time the driver got out. Tall, athletic, dark hair. He walked to my front door like he'd done it before. Claire opened it before he knocked. Day 29. Same BMW. Same time, same man. 4 visits in 4 weeks. Always during my shifts. Always the same car. I zoomed in on the BMW in one of the clearer frames. The parking sticker on the windshield was partially visible. A green triangle with white text. I'd seen that sticker before. Pinnacle Fitness. The gym where Marcus had seen Claire at 2 in the morning. The gym where a personal trainer named Ryan worked. The gym where my fiancée had apparently been getting a different kind of workout while I monitored hospital security feeds. I sat with the footage for a long time, watching the same clips over and over. Watching Claire open the door, watching her smile at him, watching her step aside to let him into my home, my space, the place where we'd planned our future together. The cold clarity was still there, but now it had an edge. This wasn't just about her comment anymore. This was about systematic deception, calculated betrayal, a double life so carefully managed that I'd never suspected a thing. I saved all the footage to a separate folder. Then I started digging deeper. Ryan Gallagher wasn't hard to find. Pinnacle Fitness had a staff page with photos and bios, and there he was. Lead personal trainer, certified wellness coach, specializing in lifestyle transformation. The photo showed exactly what Marcus had described. Tall, athletic, dark hair, the kind of symmetrical face that photographs well. Great bone structure, great eyes. His Instagram was public because of course it was. Men like Ryan lived for the algorithm. Workout videos, motivational quotes, carefully staged shots of protein shakes and sunrise runs. The aesthetic was aggressive optimization. Every post designed to project success, vitality, dominance. I scrolled through months of content, looking for connections to Claire. He was careful. No direct tags, no obvious photos together. But the locations told a story. The same coffee shop Claire frequented. The same hiking trail she'd mentioned visiting with friends. And in one photo from 6 weeks ago, a country club event where Ryan posed with a group of guests. Claire was visible in the background, her face partially turned away, close enough to touch him. She'd told me that event was a work obligation. She'd complained about having to attend alone because of my shift schedule. I screenshot the photo and added it to my folder. By Monday evening, I had a timeline. The affair had been going on for at least 2 months, probably longer. Ryan had been in my house at least 4 times while I was at work. Claire had been meeting him at Pinnacle, at coffee shops, at events where she pretended to be working. And through it all, she'd been planning our wedding. Choosing flowers and discussing seating charts and talking about our future children, while sleeping with the man whose genes she wished those children would have. The audacity was almost impressive. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "You okay? Haven't heard from you since yesterday." I typed back, "I'm fine. Need to talk. Can you meet me at the hospital parking lot before my shift tonight?" Be there at 9:30. I arrived at the hospital at 9, earlier than necessary. The parking lot was half empty, the spaces closest to the building reserved for night shift workers who'd learned that a short walk at 6 a.m. was better than a long one. I found a spot under a light pole and waited. Marcus pulled up at 9:25, his paramedic unit still warm from whatever call he'd just finished. He climbed out looking tired, but his eyes sharpened when he saw my face. "You look like someone who's been doing research," he said. "I have." I pulled out my phone, showed him the doorbell footage. 4 visits in 4 weeks. Same guy, same car, same time, always when I'm working. Marcus watched the clips in silence. When he finished, his jaw was tight. "That's the guy I saw in the parking lot. Same BMW. His name's Ryan Gallagher, personal trainer at Pinnacle." I showed him Ryan's Instagram, the staff photo, the country club picture with Claire in the background. They've been seeing each other for at least 2 months, probably since before we set the wedding date. "Jesus," Marcus handed back the phone. "So what are you going to do?" "I don't know yet." "You could confront her. Show her the footage, make her admit it." "And then what? She cries, apologizes, says it didn't mean anything. Same script every cheater follows." I shook my head. "She already told me the truth on Saturday. She wants his jeans, his face, his whatever. The affair just proved she was already acting on it. So you're done. It's over." "It's been over since she opened her mouth. I just didn't know how over it was." Marcus leaned against his unit, arms crossed. "You're being very calm about this." "I'm processing." "You're plotting." I didn't deny it. "Just don't do anything stupid," Marcus said. "This guy looks like the type who'd lawyer up if you so much as looked at him wrong, and Claire's mother has connections all over this town." "I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm not even sure I'm going to do anything at all." I pocketed my phone. "But I want to know the full scope before I decide. I want to understand exactly what I was too blind to see." Marcus studied me for a long moment. "You know I've got your back, whatever you choose." "I know. And if you need help, I'll ask." He nodded and climbed back into his unit. "Be careful, little brother. People do stupid things when they feel cornered." I watched him drive away, then headed into the hospital for my shift. The night passed slowly. Monitor checks, credential verifications, the occasional minor incident, a confused patient wandering into a restricted area, a visitor who couldn't find their car in the parking deck. Normal problems with normal solutions. My mind was elsewhere. I kept returning to Claire's comment, replaying it like a song I couldn't get out of my head. "I'd prefer they have my ex's jeans." She'd said it so casually, so thoughtlessly, like she was discussing paint colors or furniture arrangements. Like my genetic contribution to our theoretical children was a minor consideration that could be optimized away. Had she always seen me this way? A practical choice rather than a passionate one? The stable option she could rely on while dreaming of someone more exciting? The doorbell footage suggested an answer. Ryan wasn't a fantasy she occasionally indulged. He was a regular visitor, a scheduled presence in her life, someone she'd been maintaining a relationship with while simultaneously planning our wedding. I wasn't her backup plan. I was her cover story. The reasonable, stable fiancée who worked night shifts and never asked too many questions. At 3 a.m., during a quiet stretch, I pulled up Ryan's Instagram again. His most recent post was from earlier that evening, a workout video with a motivational caption about chasing excellence. The location tag said Pinnacle Fitness, but it was the comments that caught my attention. Someone named Jennifer Cole had written, "Looking strong. See you at the club this weekend?" Jennifer Cole. The name was familiar. I searched my memory, then checked Claire's phone contacts from our shared family account. Jennifer Cole was listed under Work Country Club. She was Claire's co-worker at Westbrook, and apparently she was also connected to Ryan. I screenshot the comment and added it to my growing folder. Then I started researching Jennifer Cole. Her Instagram was public too, another gift from the algorithm generation. Event photos, country club functions, pictures with Claire labeled work bestie and partner in crime. They looked close, the kind of friends who knew each other's secrets. I wondered how many of Claire's secrets Jennifer actually knew. By the time my shift ended at 6, I had a new name to investigate and a new thread to pull. Jennifer Cole might be Claire's friend, but her comment on Ryan's post suggested she ran in overlapping circles. In my experience, overlapping circles meant overlapping information, and information, I was learning, was everything. Tuesday morning, I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop near the country club, the same one that appeared in both Claire's and Ryan's Instagram posts. It was the kind of place that catered to the yoga and smoothie crowd, All exposed brick and reclaimed wood and menu items that cost more than my hourly wage. Not my usual scene, but I wasn't there for the coffee. I was there for reconnaissance. The morning rush was winding down when I arrived. Young professionals tapping on laptops, stay-at-home parents with strollers, a few fitness types in expensive athleisure. I ordered something called an adaptogenic latte, because it seemed like the kind of thing people here would drink, and found a seat near the window. From this angle, I could see the country club entrance across the street. Claire's car was already in the parking lot, the silver Lexus she'd leased last year because it projected the right image for her job. She was probably inside right now, coordinating some event, smiling at clients, being the charismatic professional everyone thought she was. I wondered if Ryan had been in my bed last night. My phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi, Daniel. This is Jennifer Cole. I work with Claire. I heard what happened, and I'm so sorry. If you need to talk, I'm here for you." I stared at the message for a long moment. Jennifer Cole, the woman who'd commented on Ryan's Instagram, Claire's work bestie, and now apparently someone who wanted to offer me sympathy. The timing was interesting. Claire had been calling me nonstop since Sunday, but this was the first contact from anyone in her orbit. Either Jennifer was genuinely concerned, or she was fishing for information on Claire's behalf. Either way, she might be useful. I typed back, "Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate that. It's been a difficult few days." Her response came quickly. "I can only imagine. Claire is devastated, but honestly, I've had concerns about some things for a while. Maybe we could meet for coffee and talk?" Concerns about some things. That was deliberately vague, an invitation to ask more. I replied, "I'd like that. Are you free this afternoon?" "I can meet you at 3. There's a coffee shop near the club, Roots and Ritual." I looked around at the exposed brick and reclaimed wood. "I know the place. See you at 3. I had 6 hours to kill. I used them productively. First, I drove past Pinnacle Fitness. The parking lot was busy with the mid-morning workout crowd, but Ryan's BMW wasn't there. Either he was off today or he was somewhere else, possibly recovering from a late night in my townhouse. Next, I drove to Ryan's address. I'd found it through basic internet searching. His personal training website listed a contact location that matched a condo complex about 15 minutes from my place. The complex was upscale, all modern architecture and manicured landscaping, the kind of place that projected success without requiring actual wealth. His BMW was parked in a reserved spot near the entrance. I didn't stop. I just noted the location and kept driving. Information gathering, not confrontation, not yet. Finally, I went home. The townhouse felt different now, contaminated by knowledge. Every surface held a potential memory I didn't want to examine. The couch where Claire and I had watched movies, the kitchen where she'd cooked dinner on the rare nights we were both home, the bedroom where... I didn't go upstairs. Instead, I sat at the dining room table, the same table where she'd made her comment, and reviewed everything I'd collected. Doorbell footage, Instagram screenshots, timeline of Ryan's visits, the pattern of deception laid out in neat digital files. It wasn't enough. I had evidence of the affair, but I didn't have context. I didn't know how it started, how long it had really been going on, whether anyone else knew. I didn't know if this was Claire's first betrayal or just the first one I'd caught. Jennifer might have answers. The question was whether she'd actually share them. At 2:45, I was back at Roots and Ritual. Jennifer arrived at exactly 3, punctual in a way that suggested professional training. She was attractive in a polished country club way, careful makeup, designer athleisure, the kind of blonde highlights that required monthly maintenance. Her expression when she saw me was a practiced mix of sympathy and concern. "Daniel, thank you for meeting me." She sat down across from me, placing a designer bag on the table like a statement piece. "How are you holding up?" "I'm processing." Of course. She nodded with exaggerated understanding. "This must be so hard for you. Claire is absolutely devastated, you know. She keeps calling me, crying, asking what she did wrong. She knows what she did wrong." Jennifer's expression flickered, just for a moment, before resettling into sympathy. "She told me about the comment, about the jeans thing." She shook her head. "I have to say, when she told me, I was shocked. That's not something you say to the person you're about to marry." "No, it isn't. But Daniel..." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "I don't think she meant it the way it sounded. Claire can be thoughtless sometimes, but she loves you. I've seen you two together. What you have is real." I let the silence stretch. Jennifer shifted in her seat, clearly expecting me to respond, to engage, to provide the emotional content she was fishing for. Instead, I asked, "How long have you known about Ryan?" The shift in her expression was subtle but unmistakable. The sympathy mask slipped, revealing something sharper underneath. Calculation, maybe. Or the recognition that I wasn't as naive as she'd assumed. Ryan. Her voice was carefully neutral. I'm not sure what you mean. Ryan Gallagher, personal trainer at Pinnacle Fitness. You commented on his Instagram post yesterday. Something about seeing him at the club this weekend. Jennifer's face went still. She was reassessing, recalibrating, figuring out how much I already knew. I know a lot of people through work, she said finally. Ryan trains some of our club members. It's a small community. It is. Small enough that you'd know if your best friend was sleeping with someone while engaged to someone else. The mask dropped completely. Jennifer sat back, her expression cooling into something more honest and more dangerous. What exactly are you asking me, Daniel? I'm asking if you knew about the affair. She was quiet for a long moment, stirring her coffee with a precision that suggested she was buying time. Finally, she looked up. Yes, I knew. I'd expected confirmation, but hearing it still landed like a blow. How long? 3 months, maybe 4. She shrugged, as if the timeline was a minor detail. Claire told me it started as a fitness thing. She hired Ryan to help her get in shape for the wedding. Then it became more. And you didn't think to mention this to me? It wasn't my place. Her voice was cool, unapologetic. Claire is my friend. My loyalty is to her. Your loyalty is to a woman who was cheating on her fiancé while planning their wedding. My loyalty is to the person who signs off on my event proposals and makes my job easier. Jennifer's smile was thin. This is a business relationship as much as a friendship, Daniel. I'm not going to blow up my career to protect your feelings. The honesty was almost refreshing. Almost. So why are you here? I asked. If your loyalty is to Claire, why reach out to me? Jennifer picked up her coffee, took a slow sip, and set it down with deliberate care. Because I've had concerns about some things. Things that go beyond your relationship with Claire. Such as? Such as the fact that Claire isn't the only one being played here. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. Ryan Gallagher doesn't love Claire. He doesn't even particularly like her. What he likes is what she represents. Access. Access to what? The country club, the social scene, the networking opportunities. Jennifer's eyes were hard. Ryan's been trying to break into this world for years. He trains clients at Pinnacle, but what he really wants is the kind of clientele that belongs to places like Westbrook. Claire was his ticket in. I processed this. Ryan wasn't just Claire's affair partner. He was using her for social climbing. And Claire, who thought she was getting the exciting upgrade she'd always wanted, was actually just another rung on his ladder. How do you know this? Because he tried the same thing with me. Jennifer's voice was bitter. 2 years ago when I first started at the club. He was charming, attentive, interested in my work. I thought we had something real. Then I found out he was dating 3 other women with country club connections at the same time. So this is personal for you. This is about not letting another woman get played by the same con artist. She sat back. Claire thinks she's special to him. She thinks they're going to be together now that you're out of the picture. But I've seen Ryan's pattern. He'll use her until he gets what he wants, and then he'll move on to someone with better connections. And you're telling me this because I want you to know the full picture, and because, she hesitated, because Claire isn't the only one who's been lying to you. What does that mean? Jennifer glanced around the coffee shop, then leaned in closer. The engagement party, the one Claire was planning at the country club. I canceled that along with everything else. No, you didn't. Jennifer's smile was tight. Claire uncanceled it. She told the club you two had a fight, but you're working things out. The party is still scheduled for Saturday evening. 150 guests. Ryan is on the invite list as her moral support. I stared at her. She's throwing an engagement party, I said slowly. For an engagement I ended a week ago. She's telling people you're having a mental health crisis and she's standing by you through it. The narrative is that you'll reconcile by Saturday and everything will be fine. That's insane. That's Claire. Jennifer shrugged. She can't accept that she lost control of the situation, so she's pretending it didn't happen and hoping reality will catch up to her version of events. I sat back, my mind racing. Claire was so desperate to maintain her image that she was proceeding with a party celebrating a relationship that no longer existed, and she'd invited the man she was cheating with to watch. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Jennifer's expression shifted again, something almost like satisfaction flickering in her eyes. Because someone should know the truth, and because if you wanted to, address the situation, Saturday might be an interesting opportunity. I understood then. Jennifer wasn't just giving me information, she was pointing me toward a target, and she had her own reasons for wanting to see Claire fall. Wednesday evening, I went to meet Ryan face to face. Not because I needed more evidence, I had plenty. Not because I wanted to confront him about the affair. That conversation would be pointless. I went because I needed to see him up close, to understand what kind of man I was dealing with, to gauge his confidence before I decided what to do about Saturday. Pinnacle Fitness occupied a converted warehouse in the trendy part of town, all glass walls and industrial lighting and equipment that cost more than most people's cars. The membership fees were designed to exclude. This wasn't a gym for people who wanted to get healthy. It was a gym for people who wanted to be seen getting healthy. I walked in at 6:45, 15 minutes before closing. The front desk was staffed by a young woman with the kind of aggressive cheerfulness that suggested commission-based pay. "Welcome to Pinnacle. Are you a member?" "Not yet. I'm interested in personal training. Someone recommended a trainer named Ryan." Her smile brightened. "Ryan Gallagher? He's our best. You're lucky. He just finished with his last client. Let me see if he's available." She disappeared into the main floor, and I used the moment to observe. The gym was emptying out as closing approached, a few dedicated members finishing sets, staff beginning the end-of-day cleanup. Through the glass walls, I could see the parking lot. Ryan's BMW was in its usual spot. "He'll be right out," the receptionist returned, beaming. "Can I get you some water while you wait?" "I'm fine, thanks." Ryan emerged from the training area a few minutes later, towel around his neck, moving with the easy confidence of a man who knew he looked good. He was taller than I'd expected from the photos, maybe 6'2", with the kind of muscular definition that required either excellent genetics or pharmaceutical assistance, probably both. "Hey, man." He extended his hand with a practiced smile. "I'm Ryan. Heard you're interested in training." I shook his hand. His grip was firm, competitive, the kind of handshake designed to establish dominance. "Daniel, nice to meet you." "So, what are your fitness goals, Daniel? Weight loss, muscle gain, general wellness?" He gestured toward a consultation area with leather chairs and motivational posters. "Let's sit down and talk about what you're looking for." We sat. Ryan launched into his sales pitch, asking questions about my current routine, my diet, my lifestyle. I gave vague answers, letting him talk, watching him perform. He was good at this. Charming, attentive, skilled at making you feel like you were the most important person in the room. I could see why Claire had fallen for it. The attention, the focus, the illusion of being seen by someone impressive. "So what's bringing you to training now?" Ryan asked. "Big event coming up? Wedding? Beach vacation?" "Wedding, actually." I kept my voice casual. "I'm engaged. Figured I should look my best for the photos." "Congratulations, man. When's the big day?" "We're still figuring that out. Had to postpone recently. Some complications." Ryan's expression was sympathetic, utterly sincere. "That's rough. Wedding planning can be stressful. What kind of complications?" "Trust issues." Something flickered in his eyes, just for a moment, before his salesman mask reasserted itself. "That's heavy. Communication is so important in relationships." "It is. So is honesty." Leaned forward slightly. "My fiancée's name is Claire. Claire Ashworth. You might know her." The mask didn't slip. If anything, it solidified, his face going carefully blank while his eyes calculated. "Claire Ashworth," he repeated slowly. "The name sounds familiar. She works at the country club, right?" "She does. She also mentioned you once. Said you had great bone structure, great eyes." I paused. "Good genes." Ryan was very still. The charm had drained out of his posture, replaced by something warier. "I think there might be some confusion here," he said carefully. "I train a lot of clients. You've been to my house 4 times in the past month, always when I'm working the night shift, always parking in my driveway like you belong there." I kept my voice level, almost friendly. "There's no confusion, Ryan. I know exactly what's been happening." Silence stretched between us. The gym had emptied. Just the two of us in the consultation area, the receptionist organizing papers at the front desk. Ryan's expression shifted. The salesman mask fell away, replaced by something colder, more honest. "So what do you want?" His voice had dropped its warmth. "Money? An apology? You want me to stay away from her?" "I want to understand something. Claire thinks you're going to be together now. She thinks this is real, that you love her, that you're building something. Is that true?" Ryan laughed, short, sharp, dismissive. "Claire is fun. She's attractive, she's connected, she opens doors." He shrugged. "But long term? Come on. She's high maintenance, she's obsessed with status, and she talks about herself constantly. I'm not looking for a lifetime of that. So, you're using her. I'm enjoying her company while it's convenient. There's a difference. His smile was thin. Not that it matters to you anymore. You canceled the wedding? She's free to do whatever she wants. She told you about the cancellation. She told me everything, including the fact that you flipped out over some comment about genetics. Ryan's tone was dismissive, almost pitying. Kind of an overreaction, don't you think? She was just being honest about what she wanted. She was being honest about wishing you were the father of her children, while planning a wedding with me. And that's a compliment to my genes, not an insult to yours. He stood up, signaling the conversation was over. Look, I'm not going to apologize for being more attractive than you. That's not something I can control. What I can control is who I spend my time with, and Claire made her choice. I stood too, maintaining the calm that had carried me through this entire conversation. She didn't choose you, Ryan. She was shopping for an upgrade while keeping me as a backup. Now she's doing the same thing to you, except you don't realize it yet. What's that supposed to mean? It means Claire doesn't pick people. She collects options. Right now, you're the exciting option, and I'm the stable one she's trying to win back. But the moment someone better comes along, someone with more money, more status, more whatever, you'll become the backup too. Ryan's jaw tightened. I'd hit something. You don't know what you're talking about. Maybe not, but I know what I saw on my doorbell camera. I know what Jennifer Cole told me about your history of dating women for their connections, and I know that Claire is throwing an engagement party on Saturday for an engagement that doesn't exist, and she invited you as her moral support. His expression flickered at Jennifer's name. Another hit. Jennifer talks too much. Jennifer told me you ran the same playbook on her 2 years ago. Multiple women, all with country club connections, all thinking they were special. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You're not Claire's upgrade, Ryan. You're her mistake, and eventually she's going to realize that. The question is whether you'll be smart enough to get out before it blows up. Ryan moved into my space, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Expensive, aggressive, designed to intimidate. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you information. What you do with it is your business. Here's some information for you. His voice was quiet, controlled. Claire and I are going to that party on Saturday. We're going to walk in together, and everyone is going to see that she upgraded, and you're going to be at home, alone, wondering what you could have done differently. He smiled, but his eyes were cold. That's not a threat. That's just reality. He shoved me then. Not hard, just enough to make a point, to establish physical dominance. I absorbed it without stepping back, without changing expression. The receptionist looked up from the front desk. Everything okay? Fine, Ryan said smoothly. Just finishing up a consultation? We're done here, I said. I straightened my jacket and headed for the exit, then paused at the door. One more thing, Ryan. He was watching me with barely concealed hostility. She told me you were the backup option too, said she was still exploring other possibilities while planning our wedding. I let that sink in. You think you're special because she's sleeping with you, but she told me the same thing 3 years ago, and she was lying then too. I walked out to the parking lot before he could respond. The night air was cold and sharp, cutting through the adrenaline that had carried me through the conversation. My hands were steady, but my heart was pounding. I just confronted the man who'd been sleeping with my fiancée, and I'd done it without losing control. Small victory. In my car, I sat for a moment, processing. Ryan had confirmed what Jennifer suggested. He was using Claire for access, not building anything real. He saw her as a stepping stone, a convenient connection to the social world he wanted to infiltrate. And Claire, who thought she was choosing passion over stability, had actually chosen a different kind of user, someone who saw her the same way she saw me, as a practical option rather than a genuine partner. There was a certain poetry to it. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. How did it go? I'd told my brother I was going to observe Ryan, not confront him. He wouldn't be happy about the deviation from the plan. Got what I needed, I typed back. He's not going to be a problem. What does that mean? It means he's too arrogant to see what's coming. I started the car and drove home, my mind already moving to Saturday. The engagement party, the 150 guests, the slideshow that Claire had undoubtedly prepared to celebrate our love story. Jennifer had mentioned something interesting during our coffee meeting, something I'd filed away for later consideration. The party would feature a presentation, a timeline of our relationship with photos and milestones. Claire had been working on it for weeks, storing the files on a shared drive we'd set up during wedding planning, a shared drive I still had access to. Claire had never revoked my permissions. Why would she? In her mind, we were still working things out. In her mind, Saturday would be our reconciliation moment, the dramatic reunion that proved their love could survive anything. She had no idea I was planning a different kind of presentation. Thursday morning, I started building my case. Not a legal case. I wasn't interested in lawyers or courts or the kind of protracted battle that would drain my savings and extend my connection to Claire indefinitely. What I was building was something more precise, a narrative, a story that would tell itself, with evidence so clear that no amount of charm or manipulation could spin it away. The shared drive was exactly where I remembered it. Claire had set it up 8 months ago, back when we first got engaged, as a central repository for all our wedding planning documents, vendor contracts, guest lists, budget spreadsheets, and, most importantly, the presentation file she'd been assembling for the engagement party. I opened it and scrolled through the slides. It was impressive, I had to admit. Claire had a genuine talent for visual storytelling. The presentation traced our relationship from that first hospital fundraiser to the proposal with carefully selected photos and captions, designed to make guests feel like they were witnessing a love story for the ages. The moment I knew he was different. Our first adventure together. When he asked, I couldn't stop crying. Happy tears. I studied my own face in those photos, smiling, trusting, completely unaware that the woman beside me was already planning her exit. The presentation ended with a slide titled The Future, showing a stock image of a sunset and the words, "Forever starts now." Claire had probably stayed up late working on that, proud of her ability to craft the perfect romantic moment. I was about to give it a different ending. The evidence folder on my laptop contained everything I'd gathered over the past 5 days. Doorbell camera footage, Instagram screenshots, the photo of Ryan's car in my driveway, the image from the country club event showing Claire and Ryan in the background together, the timeline I'd constructed showing the pattern of visits during my shifts. I also had something new, a screenshot Jennifer had sent me that morning, a text exchange between Claire and Ryan from 2 days ago, discussing Saturday's party. Claire, can't wait for everyone to see us together. This is our moment, Ryan. Just remember to act surprised when I show up. Don't want people thinking this was planned. Claire, of course. You're just there for moral support since Daniel is being difficult. No one will suspect anything. Ryan, perfect. After Saturday, we can stop hiding. Jennifer had obtained this through means she didn't explain, and I didn't ask. The source was questionable, but the content was consistent with everything else I knew. Claire and Ryan were planning to use the engagement party, my engagement party, as their public debut. They wanted a moment. I would give them one. I spent 3 hours redesigning the presentation. The original slides remained in place for the first 2/3, the charming story of Daniel and Claire, their meeting, their courtship, their perfect proposal. Let the audience settle into the narrative. Let them believe they knew where this was going. Then, at the point where Claire's "Forever Starts Now" slide would have appeared, the story would shift. Slide 1 of my edition, a still from the doorbell camera showing Ryan's BMW in my driveway. Timestamp clearly visible. Caption, March 15th, 11:47 p.m. Daniel at work, visitor arrives. Slide 2, Ryan walking to my front door. Caption, March 15th, 11:49 p.m. Ryan Gallagher, personal trainer, Claire's fitness coach. Slide 3, Claire opening the door, smiling, stepping aside to let him in. Caption, March 15th, 11:50 p.m. Welcome home. The slides continued. 4 visits documented. Instagram posts showing them at the same locations. The country club photo with both of them visible. The text exchange about Saturday's party. The final slide was simple. Black background, white text. I'd prefer they have his genes. He's just more attractive. Claire Ashworth to her fiancé while planning their wedding. I reviewed the presentation 3 times, checking for errors, ensuring the timestamps were legible, confirming that the narrative built logically from romance to revelation. It wasn't angry. It wasn't hysterical. It was just facts, arranged in an order that told the truth. At noon, I uploaded it to the shared drive, replacing Claire's original file. She wouldn't check it before the party. She'd already finalized everything days ago, and her focus would be on logistics, not content. The presentation would run automatically at the scheduled time, cycling through slides while guests mingled and congratulated her on her resilience in standing by her troubled fiancé. Then the slideshow would continue past the point she expected. I closed my laptop and sat back, feeling the weight of what I'd just done. This wasn't a conversation or a confrontation. This was public humiliation on a scale that would follow Claire and Ryan for years. Every person at that party would see the evidence. Every person would draw their own conclusions. And in the age of smartphones, those images would spread far beyond the country club walls. Was this justice, or was it revenge? I wasn't sure there was a difference anymore. My phone rang. Marcus. "Hey," I answered. "What's up?" "Jennifer Cole just called me." His voice was tense. "She said Claire knows you went to the gym. Ryan told her about your conversation." I processed this. And Claire is freaking out. She's convinced you're planning something. She called Jennifer asking if you'd contacted her, and Jennifer played dumb, but Claire is suspicious. Let her be suspicious. She can't stop what's already in motion. Daniel, listen to me. Claire's mother is on the HOA board. She knows people, lawyers, local media, anyone who might be useful. If they think you're planning to embarrass Claire publicly, they might try to preempt it. How? I don't know. Legal threats, security at the party. Eleanor has connections everywhere. Marcus paused. I just don't want you walking into something you're not prepared for. I appreciated his concern, but I'd thought about this. The presentation was already uploaded. Even if they somehow discovered and removed it, I had backup plans. The evidence existed in multiple forms, multiple locations. The truth would come out one way or another. I'll be careful, I said, but I'm not backing down. I didn't think you would. His voice softened. Just remember, after Saturday, this is over. Whatever happens, you walk away and build something new. Don't let this define you. I won't. We hung up, and I considered his warning. Claire was suspicious. Ryan had told her about our conversation. The two of them were probably strategizing right now, trying to figure out what I was planning and how to counter it. Good. Let them worry. That evening, I received another text from Jennifer. Claire called me. She's panicked, asking everyone if you've been acting strange. I told her I hadn't talked to you since before the cancellation. She believed me. I typed back, Thanks for the cover. Why are you helping me so much? Her response took a few minutes. Because 2 years ago, I was Claire. I thought Ryan was going to change my life. He used me for connections and dropped me when someone better came along. She needs to see what he really is. And what about what Claire really is? That's just a bonus. I appreciated Jennifer's honesty about her motives. She wasn't helping me out of friendship or moral principle. She was helping because she wanted to see Ryan exposed, and Claire's downfall was acceptable collateral damage. It was transactional, cynical, and exactly the kind of alliance I needed. Friday passed in a blur of preparation. I confirmed my shift schedule. I'd traded with a colleague to have Saturday night off. First time in months, I'd requested an evening free, and the timing would seem suspicious to anyone paying attention, but no one was paying attention to the quiet security coordinator with the canceled wedding and the cheating fiancé. I reviewed the party logistics that Jennifer had forwarded me. Cocktail hour at 6, dinner at 7, speeches and slideshow at 8. 150 guests, including Eleanor Ashworth, several country club board members, and the cream of local suburban society. The slideshow was scheduled to run during the speeches, background visuals while Claire addressed the crowd, thanking everyone for their support during this difficult time and assuring them that love conquers all. The timing was perfect. At 9 Friday evening, my phone buzzed with an unexpected name, Claire. I stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. Daniel. Her voice was controlled, but I could hear the tension underneath. We need to talk. I thought I made my position clear. You made your position clear before you went to Ryan's gym and accused him of sleeping with me. A pause. Was that supposed to be some kind of confrontation? Some territorial display? It was a conversation. I wanted to understand who I was dealing with. You're not dealing with anyone. Ryan and I are none of your business anymore. Then why are you calling? Silence. When she spoke again, her voice had shifted. Softer, more vulnerable. The Manipulation Playbook, Chapter 1. Because I'm worried about you, Daniel. Everyone says you've been acting strange, showing up at gyms, interrogating people, making accusations. This isn't like you. You're right, it isn't. But then, I didn't know what you were really like until last Saturday. The comment was a mistake. I've apologized 100 times. The comment was honest. The affair was the real mistake. Another silence. Longer this time. There was no affair, she said finally, but her voice had lost its conviction. Ryan's car was in my driveway 4 times last month. I have doorbell footage. I have timestamps. I have photos of you leaving his condo at midnight. I kept my voice flat, clinical. Stop lying, Claire. It's exhausting for both of us. When she spoke again, the vulnerability was gone. In its place was something harder. What are you planning for tomorrow? Tomorrow? The party. My mother heard rumors that you're planning something. Some kind of scene. I wasn't planning to attend. Good. Her relief was audible. Because if you show up and try to embarrass me, there will be consequences. My family has lawyers. We'll sue you for defamation, harassment, whatever we can make stick. Noted. I'm serious, Daniel. Stay away from the country club tomorrow. Stay away from me, from Ryan, from everyone in my life. This is over. Accept it and move on. Is that all? That's all. She hung up. I set my phone down and smiled for the first time in days. Claire was scared. She knew something was coming but couldn't identify the threat. She was preparing defenses for a frontal assault. Lawyers, security, public confrontation. She had no idea the attack was already inside the walls. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of cold, gray weather that felt appropriate for what was coming. I woke early, despite not having slept well. The anticipation had kept me turning all night, running through scenarios, imagining reactions, preparing for contingencies. By 7, I was showered, dressed, and sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee I didn't really taste. The party started at 6. The slideshow would run at 8. In 13 hours, everything would change. My phone buzzed. Marcus. You ready for tonight? As ready as I'll ever be. I got us covered. My buddy Jake works security at the club. He owes me one from that thing last year. He'll make sure we can get in through the service entrance. I hadn't planned to attend in person. The original idea was to let the presentation do its work while I stayed home, safely distanced from the explosion. But Marcus had argued that I needed to be there, not to gloat, but to control the narrative if things went sideways. What if Claire's family has extra security? I typed back. Jake says they didn't hire anyone additional, just the usual staff. Eleanor is confident you won't show up. Apparently Claire's call to you last night worked. I smiled grimly. Claire thought her threat had scared me off. She had no idea it had confirmed I was on the right track. What time should I be there? 7:30. Service entrance by the loading dock. I'll meet you there. Wear something that blends in. Dark clothes. Nothing flashy. Got it. I spent the morning reviewing everything one final time. The presentation was still in place on the shared drive. Claire hadn't checked it. The evidence was solid. The timing was locked in. At noon, Jennifer sent a text. Party prep is chaos. Claire is micromanaging everything. She keeps checking her phone like she's waiting for something to happen. Anything I should know about? She hired a photographer to document the reconciliation moment. She's planning to post it everywhere. Proof that she overcame adversity and her relationship is stronger than ever. The delusion was almost impressive. Claire had constructed an entire fantasy where I would show up, forgive her publicly, and they would walk off into the sunset together. The fact that I'd explicitly ended our relationship, confronted her lover, and refused all contact for a week hadn't penetrated her narrative. She saw what she wanted to see. Tonight, she would see something different. Is Ryan there? I typed. Not yet. He's arriving at 7:30. They're timing his entrance to look spontaneous, like he just happened to stop by to support his friend Claire. Perfect. The afternoon crawled by. I tried to distract myself with normal activities. Cleaning, organizing, responding to work emails. But my mind kept returning to the country club, to the ballroom where 150 people would gather to celebrate a lie, to the screen where the truth would finally appear. At 5:30, I dressed in dark clothes, as Marcus had suggested, nothing that would draw attention, nothing that would identify me immediately if anyone glanced toward the service area. I looked like what I was, a man who worked night shifts and knew how to blend into shadows. At 6:45, I drove to the country club. The parking lot was already filling up. Luxury cars, designer outfits, the kind of people who measured their worth in social connections and club memberships. I parked in the overflow lot, away from the main entrance, and walked toward the service area. Marcus was waiting by the loading dock, dressed similarly in dark, nondescript clothes. You look like you're about to commit a felony, he said by way of greeting. Just attending a party I wasn't invited to. Same thing in this crowd. He gestured toward a service door. Jake's inside. He'll let us through the kitchen and into the back hallway. From there, we can access the ballroom through the service corridor. What about cameras? Jake's handling it. The feeds will have a convenient gap during our entrance. Marcus studied my face. You sure about this? Once that slideshow plays, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. We entered through the service door into a bustling kitchen. Catering staff rushed between stations, plating appetizers and organizing trays. No one looked twice at two men in dark clothes moving with purpose. We could have been anyone, from club employees to delivery workers. Jake met us at the far end, a tall man in a security blazer who nodded at Marcus without speaking. He led us through a back hallway, past storage rooms and staff areas, until we reached a door marked Ballroom Service Access. Presentation runs at 8, Jake said quietly. You've got about 40 minutes. I'd recommend staying near the back. There's a service alcove with a clear view of the stage and the screen. You can watch without being seen. Thanks, Jake. Don't thank me yet. If this goes sideways, I was never here. He disappeared back the way we'd come, and Marcus and I slipped into the ballroom. The room was transformed for the occasion. White linens, floral centerpieces, soft lighting that made everyone look 10 years younger. A stage at the far end held a podium and a large screen, currently displaying a slideshow of landscapes and romantic quotes, the generic filler before the main presentation. The guests were mingling, champagne in hand, the low hum of conversation filling the space. I spotted Eleanor near the front, holding court with a group of women who nodded at everything she said. Claire was at the center of the room, radiant in an ivory dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary, accepting congratulations from well-wishers who had no idea what they were celebrating. And there, near the bar, was Ryan. He'd arrived exactly as planned, the supportive friend who just happened to stop by. He was dressed in a fitted blazer, looking every bit the successful wellness coach, working the room with the same calculated charm I'd witnessed at the gym. Claire caught his eye across the room and smiled. He smiled back. The performance was flawless. There's the happy couple, Marcus muttered beside me. Makes you wonder what they're planning for the after-party. Nothing, if this works. We settled into the service alcove Jake had mentioned. It was a small space, partially hidden by decorative curtains, with a clear sightline to the stage. We could see without being easily seen, exactly what we needed. At 7:50, the event coordinator, not Claire but another club employee, approached the podium and asked guests to take their seats. Dinner would be served shortly, but first, Claire had prepared a special presentation about her journey with Daniel. My journey. As if I were a destination she'd visited, rather than a person she'd betrayed. The lights dimmed. The screen shifted from generic landscapes to the first slide of Claire's presentation, a photo of the hospital fundraiser where we'd met, with the caption, "Where It All Began." The guests murmured appreciatively. Someone said, "They're so cute." The slideshow continued. Our first date, a trip to the mountains. The night I proposed, captured by a friend Claire had secretly coordinated with. Each slide reinforced the narrative she'd constructed. The perfect couple, the perfect love story, temporarily interrupted by a misunderstanding that would certainly be resolved. I watched Claire's face as the photos cycled. She was glowing, basking in the attention, confident that everything was going according to plan. She had no idea. At 8:07, the slideshow reached the slide that should have said, "Forever starts now." Instead, the screen displayed a still image from my doorbell camera. Ryan's BMW in my driveway. Timestamp visible. Caption: March 15th, 11:47 p.m. Daniel at work, visitor arrives. The murmuring stopped. Claire's smile froze. She stared at the screen, then looked toward the AV booth, confusion giving way to alarm. The next slide appeared. Ryan walking to my front door. Caption: March 15th, 11:49 p.m. Ryan Gallagher, personal trainer, Claire's fitness coach. Someone gasped. I heard Eleanor say, "What is this?" in a sharp voice. The third slide. Claire opening the door, smiling, stepping aside to let Ryan in. Caption: March 15th, 11:50 p.m. Welcome home. The room was silent now. Every eye was on the screen. Claire lunged toward the stage, heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Stop it! Turn it off! But the presentation was running automatically, and the event coordinator was frozen at the podium, unsure what to do. Claire grabbed for the laptop connected to the projector, but the slides kept coming. 4 documented visits, Instagram screenshots showing them at the same locations. The country club photo with both of them in frame. The text exchange about Saturday's party. After Saturday, we can stop hiding. Ryan had gone pale. He was backing toward the exit, trying to disappear before anyone connected him to the images on screen. But it was too late. His face was clearly visible in multiple slides, and guests were already turning to stare at him. That's him, someone said. That's the guy in the photos. The final slide appeared. Black background, white text. I'd prefer they have his genes. He's just more attractive. Claire Ashworth to her fiancé while planning their wedding. The silence was absolute. Claire stood frozen at the stage, the laptop finally in her hands, but the damage was done. 150 people had just witnessed documented evidence of her affair, presented in the format she'd chosen for her love story. Eleanor pushed through the crowd toward her daughter. "Claire, what is this? What have you done? This isn't..." Claire's composure had completely shattered. She looked around the room wildly, as if searching for someone to blame. Daniel did this. He hacked the presentation. This is harassment. Those are doorbell camera images, someone near the front said. From his own house. That's not hacking. And that text message, another voice added. Did you really say that about his jeans? The room erupted into a chaos of whispers and exclamations. I watched from the alcove as Claire's carefully constructed world collapsed around her. Ryan had nearly reached the exit when two guests stepped into his path, blocking his retreat. "You're the trainer," one of them said. "You're the one in those photos." "I don't have to explain myself to..." "You were sleeping with an engaged woman and then showed up at her engagement party?" The guest's voice was incredulous. "What kind of person does that?" Ryan tried to push past them. A brief scuffle ensued. Raised voices, bodies blocking the doorway. Security finally arrived, but it was clear they weren't sure who to remove or how to restore order. Marcus touched my arm. "Time to go?" "Not yet." I stepped out of the alcove and walked toward the center of the room. The crowd parted as I walked forward, a murmur rippling through the guests as they recognized me. The wronged fiancé. The man whose doorbell camera had just documented his betrayal for 150 witnesses. Claire saw me first. Her face cycled through emotions like a slot machine. Shock, fear, rage, and finally something that looked almost like relief, as if my presence gave her someone to blame, someone to point at while the room judged her. "You." Her voice was sharp, cracking at the edges. "You did this. You broke into the presentation and..." "I didn't break into anything, Claire. You gave me access to that shared drive 8 months ago. You never revoked it." I stopped about 10 feet from her, keeping my voice calm and carrying. "I just added some context to your love story." Eleanor pushed forward, positioning herself between us like a shield. "This is harassment. This is defamation. I'm calling our lawyer right now." "What's defamatory about doorbell camera footage from my own property?" I asked. "What's defamatory about timestamps showing when your daughter's lover visited my house while I was at work?" "Those images could be manipulated. Anyone with basic software could..." "Mom, stop." Claire's voice was quiet now, deflated. She knew arguing technical points wouldn't help. The evidence was too clear, too comprehensive. Fighting it would only make her look more desperate. The room was watching us like we were a reality show, which, in a sense, we were. Phones had emerged from pockets and purses, recording everything. By tomorrow, this would be on social media. By next week, it would be local legend. "Why?" Claire asked, and for a moment she sounded genuinely confused. "Why would you do this? I know you're angry, but this is cruel. You've humiliated me in front of everyone I know." "You humiliated yourself, Claire. I just provided documentation." "Because of one comment? One stupid thing I said about genetics?" "Because of 4 months of lies. Because of a man in my house while I worked night shifts to pay for our wedding. Because you were planning our future while sleeping with someone you wished was in my place." I paused, letting the words land. "The comment just confirmed what you'd been hiding. You never saw me as a partner. You saw me as a backup plan you could decorate while waiting for something better." Claire's eyes welled with tears, genuine ones this time, not the manipulative variety she'd deployed during our phone calls. "I loved you. Maybe not perfectly, but I did. And you've destroyed any chance we had of..." "We didn't have a chance. You made sure of that when you let Ryan into our bed." A commotion near the exit drew everyone's attention. Ryan was still trying to leave, but the crowd had become an obstacle course. Someone had grabbed his arm. I recognized the man as a club board member, someone Eleanor had introduced me to at a previous event. "You're not going anywhere until we sort this out," the board member said. "This woman works for us. If you've been conducting some kind of affair that's now blowing up at our venue..." "I don't work for you," Ryan snapped, trying to pull free. "I'm a guest. I was invited." "You were invited to celebrate an engagement you were actively undermining." The board member's voice was cold. "That's not being a guest. That's being a liability." Ryan finally wrenched his arm free, but the exit was still blocked. He turned, scanning the room for another way out, and his eyes found mine. The charm was completely gone now. What remained was something uglier. The real Ryan, stripped of his salesman persona. The man who used women for connections and discarded them when they stopped being useful. "This is your fault," he said, pushing through the crowd toward me. You couldn't handle losing, so you had to make everyone else lose too. I didn't lose anything worth keeping. You lost Claire, and instead of accepting it like a man, you threw a tantrum in front of 200 people. 150, and I didn't throw a tantrum. I showed them who you really are. I held my ground as he approached. A con artist who targets women for their connections. A man who was sleeping with my fiancée while planning to use her for country club access. Jennifer Cole told me all about your playbook. Ryan stopped short at Jennifer's name. His face flickered with something, recognition, calculation, the realization that his past was catching up with him. Jennifer doesn't know what she's talking about. Jennifer knows exactly what she's talking about. You ran the same game on her 2 years ago. Multiple women, all with connections, all thinking they were special. I smiled thinly. You're not a wellness coach, Ryan. You're a parasite in athletic wear. He moved fast, faster than I expected. His hands were on my collar before I could react, pulling me forward, his face inches from mine. You think you're clever? You think this changes anything? His voice was low, meant only for me. Claire was already done with you. All I did was give her somewhere better to go. Let go of me. Or what? You'll add this to your slideshow. His grip tightened. You've got nothing, Daniel. You're a night shift security guard with a canceled wedding and a bruised ego. After tonight, you go back to your empty house and your empty life. Claire moves on. I move on. You stay exactly where you are, alone and irrelevant. I didn't fight back. I didn't need to. Security, someone called out. That man is assaulting a guest. Jake appeared from somewhere, his hand landing firmly on Ryan's shoulder. Sir, I need you to release him and step back. Ryan let go, but slowly, making it clear the choice was his. I was just having a conversation. The conversation is over. Jake's voice was professionally neutral, but his grip on Ryan's shoulder wasn't gentle. I'm going to escort you to the exit. Any resistance will result in police involvement. Ryan straightened his blazer, trying to recover some dignity, but the room was watching, phone still recording, and his carefully maintained image had cracked beyond repair. This isn't over, he said to me as Jake guided him toward the door. Yes, it is. The crowd parted to let them through. I watched Ryan disappear into the hallway, his final glare promising retribution he would never deliver. Men like Ryan made threats. Men like me kept receipts. Claire was still standing near the stage, Eleanor at her side, both of them looking like survivors of a natural disaster. The other guests had started to drift away, some toward the exit, some toward the bar, all of them buzzing with the kind of gossip that would sustain dinner party conversations for months. Jennifer appeared at my elbow, her expression carefully neutral. That was quite a presentation. You helped make it possible. I provided information. What you did with it was your choice. She glanced toward Claire. She's going to need a new job after this. The club won't keep her. Too embarrassing, too much liability. I thought you wanted her job. I did. I do. Jennifer shrugged. But I wanted Ryan exposed more. Claire was collateral damage, just like she made you collateral damage when she decided her fiancé wasn't exciting enough. There was a certain justice in that, even if it was the cold, transactional kind. What happens now? I asked. Now? Claire and Eleanor spend the next few weeks doing damage control. Ryan finds a new hunting ground, probably another city, another gym. And you, she studied my face, you get to decide what kind of person you want to be after all this. Before I could respond, Claire broke away from her mother and walked toward us. Her makeup was ruined, her ivory dress somehow looking less elegant than it had an hour ago, but her chin was raised, still fighting, even after losing. You got what you wanted, she said to me. Everyone knows. Everyone saw. Are you happy now? I'm not happy, but I'm not lying to myself anymore. That's something. This was cruel, Daniel. Whatever I did, I didn't deserve public humiliation. You were planning to use this party to pretend our relationship was fine, to parade your affair partner in front of everyone as your moral support. You were going to post photos of our reconciliation online, build a narrative where I came crawling back. I shook my head. You wanted a public story. I just told a different one. I wanted to fix things. I wanted us to have another chance. No, you wanted to control how people saw you. That's not the same thing. Eleanor appeared behind Claire, phone in hand. I've spoken with our attorney. If any of those images appear on social media, we'll pursue legal action for invasion of privacy and emotional distress. The images are from my own doorbell camera, showing activity on my own property. Your daughter's lover walking to my door isn't protected by privacy laws. I'd researched this extensively over the past week. And emotional distress claims require proof of intentional infliction of severe harm. Showing documented evidence of an affair doesn't meet that threshold. Eleanor's expression tightened. She wasn't used to being outmaneuvered, especially not by someone she'd dismissed as beneath her daughter's station. We'll see what the courts say. We will, but you should know, if you pursue legal action, the discovery process will require disclosure of all communications between Claire and Ryan. Text messages, emails, social media DMs, everything becomes part of the public record. I paused. Is that really the exposure you want? Mother and daughter exchanged a glance. The calculation was visible. Was the satisfaction of suing me worth the additional revelations that would emerge? This isn't over, Eleanor said finally, echoing Ryan's earlier threat. Yes, it is. You just don't want to accept that. I turned and walked toward the exit, Marcus falling into step beside me. Behind us, I could hear the whispered conversations resuming, the speculation and judgment that would define Claire's social standing for years to come. That was intense, Marcus said quietly. You okay? I think so. Ask me again tomorrow. We reached the service corridor, away from the crowd and the cameras. The noise of the party faded behind us, replaced by the utilitarian silence of the back hallways. What now? Marcus asked. Now we leave. I've done what I came to do. And then? I thought about the question. For the past week, I'd been focused entirely on this moment, the exposure, the confrontation, the collapse of Claire's carefully constructed world. I hadn't thought much about what came after. I don't know yet, but whatever it is, it'll be mine, not a backup plan for someone else's life. We walked through the kitchen, past the catering staff still plating desserts for a party that had lost its appetite, and out into the cold night air. The parking lot was quieter now. A few guests had already fled, their cars leaving trails of light as they escaped the scene of the social disaster. Ryan's BMW was gone. Jake must have escorted him all the way to his vehicle. I stood by my car, breathing in the sharp December air, feeling the adrenaline slowly drain from my system. It was done. Whatever came next, this chapter was closed. I was almost to my car when I heard heels clicking on pavement behind me. Daniel, wait. I turned. Claire was walking toward me, arms wrapped around herself against the cold. She'd left without a coat, and the ivory dress offered no protection from the December wind. What do you want, Claire? She stopped a few feet away, close enough for conversation, but not close enough to touch. The parking lot lights cast harsh shadows across her face, revealing the mascara tracks and ruined makeup she hadn't bothered to fix. I need to know one thing, she said. Just one thing, and then I'll leave you alone forever. Ask. Did you ever love me, or was I just convenient? Someone who fit the timeline of when you wanted to get married? The question surprised me. Of all the things she could have asked, accusations, demands, justifications, she wanted to know if my feelings had been real. I loved you, I said. Completely. That's why what you said hurt so much. It wasn't just the comment about Ryan's genes. It was realizing that while I was loving you completely, you were loving me partially, conditionally, with reservations. That's not... You kept him as an option. You slept with him in our bed while I worked to pay for our future. And when you finally told me the truth, that you wished he was the father of our children, you didn't even realize it was wrong. I shook my head. I loved the woman I thought you were, but that woman didn't exist. Claire's face crumpled. For a moment, she looked genuinely broken, not performing grief, but experiencing it. I made a mistake, a terrible one, but I did love you. You just wanted more, I know. I opened my car door. Go find it somewhere else, Claire. I'm done being your backup plan. I got in the car. She stood in the parking lot, shivering in her ruined dress, watching me drive away. In my rearview mirror, I saw her shoulders shake. Whether from cold or crying, I couldn't tell. I didn't stop to find out. The drive home was quiet. Marcus had already texted that he'd gotten home safe, and Jennifer had sent a brief message. Well played. My phone was buzzing with notifications. Friends who'd heard rumors, colleagues who'd seen social media posts, the digital ecosystem already processing and distributing what had happened. I ignored all of it. When I pulled into my driveway, the townhouse was dark and empty. No silver Lexus, no BMW. Just my home, finally mine alone. I walked inside, turned on the lights, and stood in the living room where Claire and I had planned our wedding, where she'd told me she preferred another man's genes, where everything had ended and begun. Tomorrow, there would be consequences to manage. Legal threats, social fallout, the long process of rebuilding a life that had been built around someone else. But tonight, there was just silence. and for the first time in weeks, silence felt like peace.